time for the Republicans in Congress to step up or step aside. You heard me. We need to be laser focused right now on the only people who can actually do something right now to stop what is well beyond a constitutional crisis in this country. We need these words to come out of our mouths. Republican members of Congress, step up or step aside. Period. What do I mean by step up? There's plenty they can do. One, they can reach out to their Democratic colleagues and say enough is enough. Ending due process, contempt of court rising to possibly the criminal level, refusing to return people, including Kilmar Abrego Garcia, from death camps, from gulags in El Salvador, allowing a former drug addict who has not gone through the steps or dealt with his own powerlessness, who knows nothing about health, to suggest the permanent permanent institutionalization or extermination of people with autism. This shit has to stop. Not to mention facilitating insider trading and the fact the fucking president is a convicted criminal. Enough is enough, but our language has got to get better. The Republicans have all the power and they won't use it. Step up or step aside. What is step aside? Does that mean resign? No, 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 no. Step aside means to say, I am going to now caucus with the Democrats. Boom. Immediately change your affiliation in Congress or in the Senate to Democratic, and then we change things immediately. None of his legislation can get through. You heard me. Vote, introduce legislation if we have enough that's veto proof to stop what he is doing with the tariffs, to remove him, to impeach and convict him, and then vote to remove him from office. And then you might say, but JD Vance is just as bad. Then let me have you keep in mind that, here's how it plays out, guys. This is the plan if they care about America. Now you may say, I'm a dreamer, okay? But I have to have a fucking plan. Here's the plan. And let me just tell you, plan is better than no plan. That's what Timothy Geithner said. Here's my fucking plan. Come with me. Come with me. This is my plan. And I'm just going to say it's reached this point. We need step one. Step one, you get enough Republicans to say, I'm caucusing with the Democrats. I am no longer, or say I'm an independent. Republicans in Congress, we just need a handful to say, I'm an independent and I'm caucusing with the Democrats. Boom. Then they don't even have to say that, well, yeah, I'm an independent, I'm caucusing with the Democrats, or just I'm an independent. Deprive the Republicans of their majority. Then have a vote for speaker. Hakeem Jeffries becomes Speaker of the House. You see where this is fucking heading. Boom. Next, impeach and remove Trump and Vance in the same fucking fell swoop. Who becomes president of the United States? It's Hakeem Jeffries. How do we get a vice president? Well, that needs to get through Congress when he nominates someone. I have an idea. Why not AOC? I don't know. We need to stop this. Donald Trump is beyond controlling, yet House and Senate Republicans are not beyond controlling. This is fucking serious. And you could sit back and say, Jen, what's in your fucking coffee this morning? Okay, I know this is a dream, but I want to start saying shit. That's the only thing that can stop this, because courts can't. I don't want to bullshit you. There are other channels that can keep your endorphins going. I know how to get clickbait. I could create a thumbnail that says he's going down, his days are numbered. No, they're fucking not. All the pressure, all the pressure needs to be put on Republican members of Congress and the Senate. That means we need to recruit people who are sick of Donald Trump, who have voted for him, who want this to stop, who are in red districts, who need to show up. Red district Republican voters need to show up and tell their members, become an independent, stop this man. Okay, that's my fucking plan. You have a better one? Let me know. Because waiting until the election ain't going to do it. They're stripping us already of the ability to vote if this legislation gets through, right? So we need Republicans on our side. We need to not scoff at the people who are sick of this shit. Okay, I am telling you, this is the plan for me. I don't know how I'm going to fucking execute it, but the way we begin is to stop being mealy mouthed and, oh, I don't want to say Republican because that's like, I want to be bipartisan. Blah, blah, blah. I'm not talking about conservatives. I'm not talking about people who don't share exactly the same issues that you do. I'm talking about the Republican members of Congress and the Senate need to do what I said, step up or step aside, if not both. Let's fucking go. Okay, let me tell you what's going on in the news, right? I'm sure you've heard there's two major cases that may get confusing because they both relate to the unlawful, unconstitutional actions of the Trump administration in removing people from the United States and deporting them to El Salvador without due process. And let me be clear, 9-0, the Supreme Court said that folks are entitled to due process even if the president is invoking what's called the Alien Enemies Act to say that that we're at war and they're an alien enemy. You still must give them due process. But oopsie doopsie, they didn't. Now what? And that's what the two fucking cases are about. One deals directly with Kilmar Abrego Garcia, and that is the one before Judge Sidis. And I don't know exactly how to pronounce her name. It's Xinis, Judge Paula Sidis. And she's the one who we talked about yesterday, gave 2 weeks of expedited discovery. The other case, the more breaking news case, is the more general one that had been before Judge Boasberg, right? And this is the case where when Judge Boasberg held a hearing, during the hearing, and it was like he has this hearing on a Sunday, and then I think there was a follow-up on a Monday, so it was a couple of weeks ago. And during the hearing, he issues and I think this particular hearing was on the Monday after the Sunday. Anyway, it was like 5 p.m. The hearing begins. And he, during the course of the hearing, issues an oral temporary restraining order saying, don't take anyone out of the US. If they're on a plane, turn the plane around. They need due process, right? That case. And the arguments that the Trump administration made were things like, oh, and then after the hearing was over, he documented that in writing. And the Trump administration is like, that wasn't valid until it was in writing. And when it was in writing, it was too late. And even if it wasn't too late, fuck you, we can do whatever we want, essentially under Article 2 of the Constitution, plenary power, what have you, of the president. I'm simplifying the arguments. Well, yesterday night, Judge Boasberg issued a 46-page order, guys. And he said, first of all, I'm finding this administration in contempt of this court, civil contempt, period. And I think there's probable cause for a criminal contempt ruling. And this is different. Probable cause for criminal contempt means that he can refer it for prosecution. Now, you may say, ha, 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 prosecution from this Department of Justice. I know. But the point of this is that's where we are. And his statements are really beautiful, but I want to step back and just make clear those are two different things. Let's go back to Kilmar Abrego Garcia. As you know, He is from Maryland. That's where his wife and 3 children currently reside. He is now residing in a hellscape prison, a gulag in El Salvador. So, as you probably know, yesterday, the senator from his state, Chris Van Hollen, flew down to El Salvador with plenty of notice to the government so he could go into this prison, CCOT, and go see his constituent, who is now a lightning rod, who is now the focus of what happens in our country. Does our democracy hold? Because we are now on the thinnest of thin threads. And I want to share with you what Senator Van Hollen said, because let me tell you, they would not let him see Abrego Garcia. They would not let him to speak to him on the phone. But he did have a conversation with the vice president of El Salvador, okay? So not with Bukele, but the guy next in line. I want to play for you what Van Hollen, that would be wild, Van Hollen said at his presser. Here we go.
Ask the vice president if Abrego Garcia has not committed a crime, and the U.S. courts have found that he was illegally taken from the United States, and the government of El Salvador has no evidence that he was part of MS-13. Why is El Salvador continuing to hold him in CCOT? And his answer was that the Trump administration is paying El Salvador, the government of El Salvador, to keep him at CCOT.
Follow the fucking money. I certainly hope that Senator Van Hollen is one of the people deposed. Actually, he doesn't need to be deposed because he's on the side of he'd be supporting the plaintiff, but I hope he is a witness who is willing to put an affidavit in, as well as, if they want to depose him, sworn testimony, whatever he needs to do. His testimony needs to be brought to the official notice of Judge Paula Sinis, because remember, she is also at this point presiding over a civil contempt hearing as to whether Donald Trump's administration is violating her order that was supported by the U.S. Supreme Court that the Trump administration facilitate Abrego Garcia's return. This is what is happening. Literally was told by the government of El Salvador, we're being paid to lock him up. We're not going to release him. Okay. I want to now share with you the president of Abrego Garcia's union strong here, saying, bring him home. Here we go.
Do you think this is striking a chord with so many people right now?
I think people are afraid about what possibly this could mean when the administration says, well, we're powerless now that he's in another country. Well, what does that actually mean moving forward? I know the labor movement in general sees one of their fellow brothers in a notoriously heinous situation in that prison. And it has people upset, scared, and that's why I think it's gaining so much steam.
And as I mentioned earlier, you've been in touch with Mr. Abrego Garcia's wife and family. How is your union supporting them during this time?
We're doing everything we can. We're following the lead of the family's attorneys. We're supporting in just the other day, we delivered cases of diapers to her. She doesn't even know everything that she does need. We're trying to keep their health insurance alive for them while he's detained. And really, we're just working our way through anything we can do to help the family.
Because now she's a single mom. She has 3 kids. I know her youngest is with him, who has intellectual disabilities.
Exactly.
And you talk about the health insurance.
Yes.
That because he was deported, that might be at risk?
It is at risk because he's no longer at work. Okay. So we have to be creative in how we can provide health care to the family.
What else do you want to say? What is your message that you haven't already said?
my message echoes everything that with the panels before me, that we just want due process. Due process is a pillar that this country was, one of the pillars this country was founded on. It's actually one of the things that does actually make America great. Our union is founded on due process. We want our brother Kilmar to come back and get his due process.
Brother Kilmar. This is our brother, not only as President Coleman of the union said, but for all of us. We, as what is that expression? We hang together or we hang alone. Donald Trump is trying to pick us off. Now, I must add for you that this doesn't stop here, as you know. And I want to play for you the biggest moron or inflated ego. He's not a moron. He's just a dangerous, sick man who is now apparently advising the president again, Sebastian Gorka. Let's take a listen to his nonsense for a moment. This is where they're going, and you know it.
Of politics in America is dead. It's not left and right. It's not even Republican or Democrat. There's one line that divides us. Do you love America or do you hate America? It's really quite that simple. And we have people who love America, like the president, like his cabinet, like the directors of his agencies, who want to protect Americans. And then there is the other side that is on the side of the cartel members, on the side of the illegal aliens, on the side of the terrorists. And you have to ask yourself, are they technically aiding and abetting them? Because aiding and abetting criminals and terrorists is a crime in federal statute, Rob.
No, it's not. That's not that. Okay. Number one. He's suggesting that if you support due process for Abrego Garcia, that you can be charged with aiding and abetting. Well, first of all, the aiding and abetting statute, he's actually talking about a different statute, which is providing material support for a terrorist. Okay, number one, show me the fucking evidence. They have none. All they have is a 2019 hearing transcript where someone falsely accused or with no substantiation accused him of being part of a gang. And there was also a police officer who was later charged with some other crime. At the end of the day, the judge, the finder of fact in 2019 said, I don't believe this informant. I don't think that there's no evidence that Abrego Garcia was in the state that he said he was in at the time. So what the judge did is he said, you know what? I'm not allowing Mr. Abrego Garcia to be removed to El Salvador, where he is from, to be sent back. I'm letting him stay here as he works through his immigration case. That's what the federal judge says. So they keep saying this. I will never give material support or aid of any kind or facilitate a criminal committing a crime. And at the same time, how do I know someone's a criminal? We have a whole system. And I say, as a lawyer, you're supposed to be able to defend people even if they have been accused of crimes. I'm not saying that, but this idea that arguing for due process is a violation of law, it's the opposite. It is to love America. That is what America is. And so here's the deal. He can fuck all the way off. He needs to just shut up. But the point too, let me just say one more thing on this. I need to show you Pam Bondi, because Pam Bondi inside, if you how if you took her mask off, the Pam Bondi mask, inside would be Sebastian Gorka. It's like a Matryoshka doll, right? And inside of Sebastian Gorka would be a photo and sound recording of Adolf Hitler, okay? Or Benito Mussolini. That's what we're fucking looking at. Let me play you Pam Bondi and her unsubstantiated lies, and it's trying to be called out on that by a journalist.
Braver because she was married to one of the top MS-13 members who was illegally in our country and a terrorist. So now
Can you explain?
he gets.
Oh, go ahead.
Go
I'm
ahead,
sorry,
Sean.
Pam. Finish. No. You finish.
So, Sean, under Donald Trump's incredible plan to get these alien enemies, these terrorists out of our country, he is deported. He is deported back to where he came from, El Salvador. He is sitting in a prison, and every American should be thanking President Trump tonight, and every liberal journalist who has called him a Maryland man and saying he was rightfully in this country should be apologizing tonight to President Trump.
I'm sorry, this wasn't the one where she's called out on this question. Where is the evidence, Pam, that he was a top member of MS-13? If you had it, you would have presented it in court. Not only that, bring him back and present that evidence. I don't want someone who's an active gang member who has committed crimes, because if you're a member of a gang, that's actually, find me the offense. But if there's an evidence that he has committed crimes in the United States, charge him with those crimes in the United States. When she was asked, what evidence she had, she said, well, we have this hearing transcript. Oh my God, that is not, if you have a hearing transcript, my dear, and you fucking know this, then see if that's enough. A hearing transcript that a judge had rejected, see if that's enough. And by the way, bring that witness who made those statements to the court, because the Constitution allows you to confront your accusers, not just a hearing fucking transcript, right? Confront your accusers. Let the accuser who claimed that he was a member of MS-13, let him get on the stand and be cross-examined by Abrego Garcia's lawyers. For fuck's sake, we all know this stuff. And no matter how many women get on television and wear crosses, claiming to take on the vestiges of one of the world's great religions, Christianity, what would Jesus do? I mean, I don't need to start quoting the Sermon on the Mount. That's not what this show is about. But this does not strike me as very Christian to lie to the public. In fact, as I remember, the 10 Commandments, which are also shared by my religious tradition, includes one of the worst things you can do is bear false witness against your neighbor. In fact, I'm doing a daily Talmud study right now called Daf Yomi, a whole other thing, part of my spiritual, part of PRISM, right? Physical health, relational health, intellectual health, spiritual health, mental health. My spiritual health component has been looking into the Talmud, and yesterday's reading and the day before's reading involve when you can trust witnesses and when you can't. So, lady, I don't trust you. Okay, guys, I'm almost to the fun stuff, almost to the crazy town. But I think we need a little bit of a spirit lifter. Let's play some AOC, because AOC is my inspiration today for telling you, as I began this show, we need to say, Republican members of Congress, step up or step aside. It's on you. You have chosen and you refuse to remove your leader, Donald Trump. They can fucking do it. So every one of them, all of the senators, all of the members of Congress are complicit. And the good news is they're freaking out a little bit. Push harder now. Let's do it, AOC.
Flying in, we got some very interesting news. Senator Sanders and I got some very interesting news. Here, Montana and Missoula, this is our last stop of the week after crisscrossing the entire country. We had 12,000 people in Idaho. One of the most Republican states in the entire country. We had 20,000 people in Salt Lake City, Utah. We started off with 36,000 people in Los Angeles. But last night, further north in California, in Folsom, which is also represented by Republicans, we had 30,000 people show up. Prior to that, we had visited Colorado, we had visited Nevada, we visited Arizona. And on the way here, we got a very interesting piece of news, which is that some of those Republican members some of those Republican House members that we had visited, they just led a letter warning the Republican leadership, saying, we don't know if we can vote for Medicaid cuts now. That's you, Missoula. That's you, Montana. That's you, Colorado. That's you, Arizona. That's you, California. That's you, the people. We got them on their back foot. We got them scared. We got them running. But our job is not done. And we will rally every corner of the United States of America until we save Medicaid and Medicare for every American, until we defend Social Security, and we tell them who's really in charge in this country.
Love her. All of that. All of that. Now, let's be clear. It's got to be bigger. Now, there are some rallies. I think, I know some people are having rallies today, but I know this Saturday is one of these days of action every couple of weeks. I'll be talking about that tomorrow, how you find your protest. But what I need to share with you now, I've got two more things before our crazy town. This is a takedown of JD Vance. So I think you'll enjoy this. Let's play it.
Borrow money from Chinese peasants to buy the things those Chinese peasants manufacture. That is not a recipe for economic prosperity.
This is the comment from JD Vance about Chinese people calling them peasants, and now listen to a savage reply by a Chinese analyst.
You will know the comments from the Vice President JD Vance calling the Chinese peasants. Where does that leave US-China relations and any sort of talks between the two presidents, do you think?
Allow me to be very brief. JD Vance and I went to the same law school, Yale Law School. I was 20 years ahead of him, and I'm ashamed for the ignorance and the bigotry he demonstrated, because he called China the peasants financed them, the peasants sold them goods. Let me just make one simple point. The middle class in China is larger than the total population in the United States. The urban population in China is about 3 times as big as the total population of the United States. So my advice to my alumni at Yale Law School, JD Vance, is wake up, or you go back to school to study more diligently to avoid making yourself a fool in front of the world.
I mean, there you go. That's pretty fucking embarrassing and condescending and classist. Referring to a person as a peasant. I mean, dehumanizing, disgusting. Okay. But the yick factor isn't big enough yet, right? So let's play. This is the piece I really need you to see before we get to Crazy Town. This is RFK and his eugenics. Clearly, this reminds me and echoes what the Nazis did. And it's a deep misunderstanding. He's a danger. He's going to fake the science. Remember, he is obsessed with the argument that vaccines cause more harm than do good. He has become convinced, despite the overwhelming accurate medical studies saying that no, there's not a statistically significant correlation between the important vaccines children get and autism. And he seems to ignore the fact that all of us, that there's no specific, what's the word? Many of us are neurodivergent, and we can channel that in positive ways, right? How couldn't we be neurodivergent? Just like we have different fingerprints, and we have different, when you go to, when you go to the airport, and whether you have clear or the other TSA pre-check, and they take a picture of your eyes, you're the only one who has those same configurations. So why would our brains all function the same way? And the issue around, well, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a psychologist, but I'm also not a fascist and eugenicist. I need you to hear how dangerous RFK is. And this is another reason why the Republicans need to step up or step aside and get rid of this regime.
An individual tragedy as well. Autism destroys families. More importantly, it destroys our greatest resource, which are our children. These are children who should not be suffering like this. These are kids who, many of them were fully functional and regressed because of some environmental exposure into autism when they're 2 years old. And these are kids who will never pay taxes. They'll never hold a job.
I just stopped there. Never pay taxes and never hold a job. You cannot imagine the flood of commentary from professionals, from lawyers, from politicians in response to this, as this video is circulated on Blue Sky. What an insult to everyone who's neurodivergent. And now, my friends, it is time for Crazy Town. Okay, here we go. I actually have a treat for you for Crazy Town. I have flipped the script, and today Crazy Town is actually Love Town. You know, life is crazy. Everything I'm talking to you about is crazy. So I think we need a little lift. And this is just a beautiful video. And let me give you the context before you start watching. We start out, and this is the point. If you're just listening, this is when you want to look at your screen. I'm speaking to you, Michael, and anyone else who just listens. This is when you want to look at your screen, because I'm showing you a video of a man. He begins in a barn looking at some chicks, and notices something on the ground. Let's take a listen and let's watch. Actually, let me narrate it for those who want to hear this and cannot read quickly the subtitles. Let's start. So it says, I found this button egg on the ground during my morning routine. And you can look, he's looking down right on the ground, and sees this tiny egg. It looks like it might be maybe 3/4 of an inch. So I brought it back with me to incubate it. It looks like he's going back home from the barn, and it looks like sawdust shavings that he found it on. Now it's kind of like a light green. It looks like he puts it in an incubator. He says, I'm hoping the egg wasn't outside for too long. And on day 3, he decided to check to see if it was fertile. And what you see next is there's some kind of light he puts it under, and it's glowing. So this means that he knows it is fertile. But he saw a hairline crack in the shell. So he decides, it says, I sealed it with wax, hoping to keep any bacteria out. So then 10 days later, I checked it again, and he looks and he says, to his surprise, it looks like that wax worked. It worked. That means the egg is still developing. He said it was developing perfectly. Okay. Then what happens? You can look at it in the glow light. This is so beautiful. Then we look into the incubator again. He's just staring at that egg. Oh, he came home from the gym and he was already out. Look at that. Oh my God, you guys. That is what made me really happy today. And with that, I will leave you. Enjoy your Thursday. And I'll see you tomorrow morning with all the news you need, all the honesty we all deserve, and a plan of action for Saturday. Thanks all. Thank you to my followers, to the mods, and everyone who's just new to this place.